narrator's sharp tone, many rise in wealth, few last. The rich man buys, the wise man builds. Today's millionaires raise spoiled heirs, but the Machiavellian, he creates successors trained in warfare of finance. You will discover, white heavy check mark, why most wealthy families collapse by the third generation. White heavy check mark, how to build financial systems that outlive your name. White heavy check mark, and how to make money obey you in silence, in power, and without apology. So you desire wealth. Good, desire is natural to the human soul. But if you stop there, you'll remain like most men. Dreamers kneeling before the altar of chance, hoping for fortune to bless them. Desire, my friend, is a fire without structure. It burns hot, but directionless. It consumes a man's thoughts at night. It makes him buy foolish things, chase hollow trends, and speak of someday. While his empire slips further into fantasy, the truth is, desire is for the poor. The architect of wealth does not desire, he designs, and there lies the first great separation between the rich and the rulers. Men who merely desire will work harder and longer, thinking effort equals destiny, but the Machiavellian mind knows, effort without architecture is noise. You don't get rich from working harder. You contradiction build wealth by designing systems where your money, time, and influence work while you sleep. Do not confuse work ethic with wealth strategy. The farmer toils from sunup to sundown, yet owns no land. The nobleman, with one decree, moves armies and inherits harvests. Why? Because one labors while the other designs the system. If you want to build generational wealth, you must become a financial architect, not a servant of labor. You must craft rules for your money to obey. Your income must serve a formula. Your spending must follow a pattern. Your future cannot be left to emotion nor to hope. Structure liberates. A man with a wealth blueprint. He knows exactly where each coin travels. He builds cash flowing systems, protects them with legal walls, multiplies them with compounding strategies, and shields them in trust like a general guards his fortress. Meanwhile, the man of desire, he buys, he flaunts, he consumes today what should have built 10 tomorrows. When a Machiavellian builds wealth, he does not ask, how much can I make? He asks, how long can this last without me? Sustainability is more powerful than speed. What good is becoming a millionaire if the wealth dies with you? You want wealth that whispers your name a century after your bones turn to dust. Understand this. Systems outlive sentiment. The father who loves his children may leave them money, but the father who designs a trust leaves them a legacy protected from divorce, debt, greed, and weakness. Desire says, give them more. Design says, make them stronger. And here's what most men miss. The financial elite do not live randomly. They do not save when they feel like it. They do not invest when the market looks exciting. Their wealth is not a response, it is a blueprint executed. Their expenses are scheduled. Their passive income is engineered. Their families inherit infrastructure, not just inheritance. Your first law must be this: build systems that don't depend on your presence. Design a cash machine that prints in your absence. Design a lifestyle that doesn't trap you in effort, but frees you through leverage. Design a legacy that doesn't die with emotion, but lives through instruction. Because desire dies in hardship, but design survives centuries. Most men are prisoners, not of chains, but of schedules, salaries, and sirens that tell them, work harder, climb faster, trade time for money. They are taught to believe that the value of a man lies in his labor. That dignity is found in toil, but this is a deception, a beautiful, noble, sounding lie, because the truth is this: labor ends the moment you stop moving. And if your wealth is tied to your movement, your income dies with your exhaustion. Now listen carefully. The wise do not work for money. They own what works in silence, in perpetuity, without complaint. True wealth is not earned with sweat. It is built with ownership of assets that multiply without permission. A man who sells his hours lives in scarcity. A man who owns systems lives in leverage. The more tired you become, the more dangerous your design must be. You must own businesses, not jobs. You must control properties, not pay rent. You must hold stocks, not just opinions. Because when the merchant sleeps, his shop closes. But when the Machiavellian owns the shop, and the land it stands on it sells, it scales, it grows while he vanishes into the shadows. You must begin to see yourself not as a worker, but as a strategist of multiplication. Ask yourself, what in your life is multiplying without your energy? Your bank account, no, it decays. Your job, no, it enslaves. Your time, no, it slips. Only ownership gives you immortality. Only ownership creates empires, and only ownership multiplies in your absence. The empire builder does not chase every opportunity. He selects only those that duplicate silently. He acquires income-producing assets, rental properties, and yielding stocks, digital intellectual property, scalable companies. He leverages people's time, technology's reach, and the law's protections, and then he disappears from the daily noise. Yet the wealth continues to move upward, like a tide that owes him allegiance. You must also understand this. Assets are not just money machines. They are power mechanisms. To own land is to control access. To own infrastructure is to control influence. To own people's attention is to control the narrative. What multiplies without you commands the future. What depends on you rots with your fatigue. The problem with most people is not lack of ambition. It is addiction to activity. They feel useful when they're busy, but busy men build nothing eternal. They sell their most precious resource, time, for tokens that vanish with inflation and lifestyle creep. And when their bodies break, their income breaks too. The Machiavellian cannot afford this. His goal is not to be needed, but to become unavoidable. He places himself in the center of systems that pay him forever. He does not hustle for coins. He owns the machine that mints them. He does not chase new contracts. He builds ownership that others must rent. He understands, if your income demands your presence, it is not income, it is indenture. You must seek what continues without you. Your wealth must gain speed while you gain silence. Your systems must work harder the less you do. Because one day, your hands will shake, your voice will tremble, and your eyes will close. But if you own what multiplies without you, your empire will not notice your absence. It is the virtue most praised and the vice most abused. You are told from birth that giving is good, that sharing is noble, that wealth is meant to flow freely into the hands of others, family, friends, causes, comfort. But let me ask you this: what kingdom has ever survived on kindness? What dynasty lasted by giving everything away? What empire expanded by feeding its enemies and spoiling its heirs? None, because generosity, when uncontrolled, becomes financial treason. It is a leak in the vault, a crack in the fortress, and it is almost always disguised as love. You believe you are being noble by giving without discipline, but in truth, you are weakening your empire. A Machiavellian does not build wealth to give it away thoughtlessly. He builds to protect. He builds to secure. He builds to shape the future, not to feed the emotions of the present. Understand this. Your wealth must serve the structure of your legacy, not the impulses of your guilt. Every act of financial generosity must be judged not by the feeling it gives, but by the power it preserves. You buy someone a car, you think you've helped, but did you teach them how to earn it? Did you make them stronger? Or did you simply relieve their pressure and ensure they return to you the next time they collapse? You cover someone's debt and yes, they smile, but you have just placed a band-aid on a deeper flaw and taught them to bleed on your balance sheet. Even in family, this law holds, especially in family, because the most dangerous enemy of generational wealth is not strangers, it is unprepared heirs. They will smile, flatter, promise to do better, and still, if they are not tested, if they are not forged, if they are not refused, they will destroy in 10 years what took you a lifetime to build. The Roman generals knew, give your soldiers bread too easily and they will grow lazy. Train them with hunger and discipline and they will conquer nations. Your children, your bloodline, your successors, they must be shaped by structure, not spoiled by access. A Machiavellian understands, access to wealth must be earned, not assumed. If your empire is truly valuable, it must be guarded with boundaries, contracts, performance clauses, and trust mechanisms. You do not give without reason. You reward behavior that aligns with the survival of the legacy. You give tools, not toys. Lessons, not luxuries. Investment, not indulgence. Because once you begin the habit of giving without expectation, you become a resource. And resources are consumed, not respected. You must always ask, is this gift strengthening my kingdom or softening it? Is this act of kindness preparing the next generation to lead or sedating them into dependence? Am I giving because it serves the plan or because I fear saying no? The Machiavellian says no often and without guilt because he knows the goal is not to be liked. It is to be respected, feared if necessary, and remembered for centuries because the system he built could not be dismantled by emotions, pressure, or applause. You think love is enough. You think giving them comfort, security, and softness will make them grateful. You think shielding them from pain will prepare them for power. But if your heirs are not trained in the arts of strategy, control, and survival, then you are not leaving them a gift. You are leaving them a burden they cannot carry. Most wealthy families fall not because they lose money, but because they raise the next generation in luxury, not legacy. The father fights for wealth. The son inherits it. The grandson wastes it because the lessons were not passed, only the lifestyle. Your job is not to raise dependents. It is to craft rulers, and rulers must be forged in fire. They must be tested by denial, by discipline, by responsibility and consequence. You must plant strategy where others plant softness. The Machiavellian father does not spoil his bloodline with ease. He makes them earn what they touch. He makes them understand the cost behind the comfort. He speaks not only of love but of leadership, power, and control. Do not mistake provision for preparation. Feeding a child does not equip him to feed himself. Buying a car does not teach value. Paying tuition does not teach wisdom. The man who inherits without knowledge is a candle in the wind, briefly bright, quickly gone. You must train your successors in the skills of empire, not just in finance, but in manipulation, not just in business, but in human nature. They must know how to read the face that flatters, the hand that begs, the enemy that smiles. They must learn negotiation before celebration. They must understand silence as a weapon and distance as a signal. If your child cannot sit at the table with powerful men and hold their gaze, they are not ready. If they cannot tell when they are being lied to, they are not ready. If they need you to clean up their mistakes, they are not ready. And if they flinch when the world pushes them, they were never prepared. Strategy is not taught in moments of comfort. It is built through exposure to pain, to consequence, to difficult decisions. Let them lose. Let them be embarrassed. Let them learn, and do not save them, because the empire you built must be held by hands that have bled, not hands that have only been fed. You must demand results from your heirs. Tie their access to your empire with their ability to expand it. Make them read the contracts. Make them defend the assets. Make them protect what they are to inherit, or they do not deserve it. A trust fund is not trust. A last name is not legacy. An inheritance without instruction is an invitation to collapse. Raise not only your children, raise your replacements. They must not only love you, they must be able to be you when the war begins. Because when you are gone, no one will pity them for being weak. The world will devour them if they are not armed. And if you raised them soft, that failure is yours. Let me reveal a truth the loud never understand. The more you talk, the more they target you. The more you show, the more they study you. And the more you reveal, the more you empower your enemy. The man who builds wealth loudly invites envy. The man who scales quietly, he builds an empire in the shadows, while others waste their breath bragging about castles made of sand. If you want to protect your wealth, your true wealth, then learn this now. You must build it beneath the surface, where prying eyes can't follow, where small minds can't comprehend, and where thieves, both personal and political, can't reach. Silence is not cowardice. Silence is camouflage. It is how a ruler walks among the blind without announcing he can see. It is how a wolf survives the hunt by howling last. When you speak of your success, you awaken resentment. You stir suspicion and you alert predators. But when you operate in silence, you move like smoke, impossible to grab, harder to stop. Your wealth should not be worn on your wrist or posted on a screen. It should be wrapped in layers of protection, holding companies, trusts, offshore shelters, tax shields. Your moves should be hidden beneath layers of complexity that only you understand. And while you move in silence, your business must scale fast, lean, without apology. Because wealth that does not scale cannot last. You do not want money that works once. You want a machine that grows itself, that multiplies with new branches, new channels, new leverage points without requiring your daily breath. And yet, scaling without secrecy is suicide. You must never allow the world to track how far you've come. Because the more they know, the more they interfere. The more you grow, the more they want a piece. Friends turn to competitors. Relatives turn to parasites. Governments turn to vultures. And all of them want what you've built, if you give them the map. So, don't give them anything. Your money must be invisible. Your movements must be unpredictable. Your business must look modest while it devours markets beneath the surface. They must underestimate you. They must assume you are average, because that's when you're most dangerous. And understand this, most empires fall from exposure, not invasion. Their names become too big, their ego too loud, their lifestyle too public, and suddenly every eye turns toward them, watching, taxing, suing, investigating, copying. But if you follow this law, they won't even know what to look for. Because you've hidden the real treasure where few would dare look. Inside systems, in silent partnerships, in businesses that don't bear your name. You will grow, yes, but without noise. You will scale, yes, but without showing the ladder. You will dominate not as a celebrity, but as a ghost in the machine. Because in the age of oversharing, the one who controls silence controls survival, and the one who scales while invisible rules uncontested. So now you understand, wealth was never about income. It was never about cars, homes, or applause. It was about control. Control of time, of decisions, of your bloodline's direction across centuries. Generational wealth is not a number, it is a system, a fortress built not with bricks but with rules. A legacy not of comfort, but of competence. And the one who leaves behind only riches without strategy, leaves behind a ruin. You have been given the blueprint to design, not desire, to own, not obey, to teach heirs how to rule, not relax, to grow silently, scale ruthlessly, and protect what matters most, power that lasts beyond your name. This is not finance for the common man. This is warfare for dynasties, and now the next move is yours. Choose wisely, build strategically, because if your empire does not outlive you, then what you built was never real.